Hey guys, it's Matt Pittman with Meat Church and welcome back to my outdoor kitchen. Today we're making you guys something that we've been known for a long time, pork belly burn-ins. Pork belly burn-ins may be the barbecue that Meat Church is most known for. We rolled these out in 2015 at a festival. My buddy Chase Colston invited me to Red Dirt Barbecue Music Festival, and at that festival, a good friend of mine, Jordan Jackson, who's the pit master at Franklin Barbecue, said this was the bite of the festival. I took that as a compliment. We made a video on it 2.5 years ago, and we thought it's time to update that. You know, as time goes on, we learn, we evolve, we tweak, we change. And so we love that video. It served a lot of people well. But one of the things we picked up in the last year, if you guys watched our how to make bacon burn-ins with our buddy Travis Heim, we're not making bacon burn-ins today, but one thing I really liked what he did was he actually cooks his in a pan. So the pork belly kind of is cooking like confit style because it's sitting there in its own rendered fat. And so I thought we would try that today. Full disclosure, we've actually never done that. Travis, makes bacon and then cooks bacon on this pan. So we thought, let's give it a shot from raw pork belly, and we're honestly gonna find out together how they turn out, but I'm sure they'll be good. So what we've got here is half a slab of pork belly. This is a Prairie Fresh belly. If you put this in a cure for a week and then smoked it, that's how you would have bacon. But this is just a raw pork belly. This would cost you about $45 for the whole slab. So this, you're looking at, 23 bucks or so for this amount of meat, and it'll feed quite a lot of people, even though meat prices are pretty high right now. I'm gonna cut it into 1-inch cubes. It's that simple. You wanna start with really cold meat, and that's what we've got here today. You also want to make sure this belly is nice and even, which this is. There's not a whole lot to do with this. Trim off anything unnecessary, but I'm lucky with this one, it's pretty even. If it wasn't, I would actually trim the fat down in the tall parts to make it even, because that will ensure that your whole tray cooks very evenly. So now we're gonna make one more cut on these and cut them into 1-by-1 cubes and then do that for the entire belly. I've got them all cubed up, perfect little 1-by-1 cubes, and now it's time to season. Okay, lots of ways to season these. In our previous video, we used the Gospel all-purpose rub. Today, I'm gonna use our kind of OG, it is our OG. When I was on Barbecue Pitmasters in 2014, I had our Honey Hog on there, and Myron, Mo, and Tuffy said we had the best taste, and that's why it's one of our most popular rubs. There's no right or wrong way to do this. You season with whatever you want to season with, and you just want to toss this stuff around, get dirty with it. It's impossible to over season these. So just season, season, season. And we're simply gonna let this stuff sit for probably 20 minutes, let the seasoning adhere, let it, kind of sweat out, as I like to say. And that's all we're gonna do, and then we're gonna get to cooking. So the seasoning has fully adhered. You can see these are sweat out, as I like to say. So it's time to put them on a pan. So we're gonna go, you can go fat up or meat up, but my thought here is these things are gonna be cooking in their own fat. So I'm gonna put these on fat down this time. I've done both when I cook these on a wire rack. So this is probably a preference thing. Probably no right or wrong way, just slightly different. And we're just gonna load this pan up with all these. All right, we've got them all on here. They look good. So I think these are gonna take a little bit longer to cook than when we cook them just on a rack like we have done in the past because you got a pan underneath it, but we'll see. We're going 250 degrees. We've got Meat Church pellets in the Traeger Timberline XL. You could obviously smoke these with, with whatever you got at 250 degrees, but we're going with the Traeger. Here we go. We'll see you guys a little later. We've been cooking the pork belly for right at 3.5 hours, so let's check in on it. Whoo! And it looks awesome. So we've been temping this along the way, and first you're looking for color. This has got beautiful color. They look great, but with an instant read thermometer, I want you to probe these without looking at the temperature, just the feel. And like that, when you feel there's no resistance, you're good. Which normally for me is kind of in the 190s. If you're lower than that, you could have a little bit of a chew. So I like to go, I'm just gonna call it 195. Every piece of meat is different, and that all depends on the size. Like if you have a huge one, like this, a pretty big one, that one might take a little bit longer. And you can see all of this fat down here. These pork belly pieces have been cooking in their own fat. We talked about earlier, kind of confit style. So I'm just gonna pick them up and throw them over here in a pan because we're gonna sauce them now. That worked out perfect. I love to finish these in a half pan. So now we're on to the second stage. At this point, super simple. You simply toss these in your favorite barbecue sauce, and I'm actually gonna add a little bit of pepper jelly to it. So what we've got here is just a sweet barbecue sauce that I'm gonna squirt on here. And here, just use your favorite sauce. So what it is isn't that important. This is something that I make, and it's just a sauce that I like. So again, choose your favorite barbecue sauce. You wanna kind of toss these around. So see, it was important not to overcook these. If you would have cooked these north of 200 degrees internal temperature, these would kind of be falling apart as you toss it. So you just want enough sauce to coat the pork belly. Just a little bit more. You don't want these just sitting in like an inch of sauce. Just want them, what you're looking for here is the equivalent of dunking this down in sauce and dumping it back in here. Now I'm gonna add a little pepper jelly. You guys know me, Craig Sherry, good friend of mine, Texas pepper jelly, rib candy. He's got tons of flavors, and I don't get anything for telling you this other than the satisfaction out of this is my absolute favorite barbecue product besides Meat Church seasoning. You can use lots of different flavors. I love peachy peach, so I'm gonna add some of this. And this is optional, but this will give you that sweet heat. So if you ask me for a measurement, like how much of this am I doing, I would say 2 parts barbecue sauce to upwards of 1 part rib candy or so, but you really just do it to taste. Now you could have mixed that in a bowl. You could pre-mix it if you're trying to be precise, and then, just douse that whole mixture on here. But look, I grew up cooking where nothing was measured. My granny never told me how much of this or how much of that. So I prefer to do it this way and live and learn. Sometimes it comes out great. Sometimes it comes out not so perfect when you cook that way, but I can tell you that this is not gonna suck. So that looks good. Here's what I'm looking for. Those are super wet, but not too much sauce in the bottom of the pan. I mean, there's a little bit of sauce in the bottom of the pan, but not too much. And also, how many pork belly burn-ins are in this pan? You don't want to overload it. That way, as this is cooking, that sauce will not only tack up, the fat will continue to render, and they'll be delicious. So we're gonna put this back in the Traeger at the same temperature. This last step is to your preference. 30 minutes to an hour, whatever you love. So we're gonna check back in a little bit, and I'll see y'all then. Okay guys, the pork belly burn-ins have been continuing to cook for about 45 minutes. So I told you that stage is really based on preference, and I'll be honest, I like them a little more on the saucy side. So I may do this stage a little bit less than some other people. So that's totally your preference. I'm gonna pull them out on the board and allow them to cool, and then we will be back to try them and see how they turned out with this new method. All right, guys, I can't wait any longer, so let's dig in and see how these turned out. I ain't mad at that. I mean, you already know these are good. Super tender. Honey hog's the winner. I'm down. Recap this. This was super easy cook, right? It was 4 hours total. 3.5 on the first step, 30, 45 minutes on the second. So I'm just over 4 hours. Couldn't be any easier. It's 25 bucks. I'm really digging the way that we did these on the pan like Travis does. One big benefit of that, my grill didn't get dirty. All the fat was right there on the pan. These cooked in that fat. I think they were a little more tender. The flavor's awesome. You know, and you can play with this and change the flavors up to all sorts of different things. So if you guys dig this, check out the rest of this hardcore barbecue playlist. There's loads of recipes in here that have honestly been a ton of fun. Appreciate you guys watching, like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.